We're going to begin this hour with a study of marijuana use, which is apparently linked to a higher risk, I didn't see this coming, of heart attack and stroke. This includes whether you smoke it, you vape it, you eat it, however you ingest it. This is a study that found that daily cannabis use, so that's a lot, is associated with a 25% higher risk of heart attack and a 42% increase in the odds of stroke when compared to non-daily users. Cannabis is now legal just for fun in 24 states, plus the District of Columbia, and another 14 states allow it for medical use. Dr. Celine Gounder is a CBS News contributor and editor-at-large at KFF Health News, and she joins us as we wrap up American Heart Month. Dr. Gounder, good morning to you. If you're consuming daily, you might have some stressors in your life that might tie into heart problems. So what do we know here? Is this causation or correlation? What's the theory?
Well, that's a great question. So this is survey data where it's difficult to do this kind of research because cannabis remains a Schedule I drug under the DEA, so it's classified right alongside heroin. So that makes it very difficult to study. To answer that question, we don't have a direct answer to that question.
But most people think of marijuana that it's, and I've never used it, but Tony can help us on this particular.
And you were alive throughout the 60s and the
I know,
70s.
I was alive.
It's an amazing fact.
It's quite the accomplishment.
I'm just a big square. But most people think of it as, many people think of it as medicinal or benign. That's why I was surprised to hear this.
Well,
you were not.
I was not. Smoke is smoke is smoke. So if you're smoking cigarettes, if you're smoking cannabis, if it's wildfire smoke, people think these things are natural.
Yeah.
But smoke is still inhaled. You're inhaling these particles, these other chemicals, which can cause damage to your lung and your heart.
Okay, so people that may consume it, they'll oftentimes say, well, I just vape, I don't smoke. Or
Yes,
I just do edible,
Just a
I don't
gummy.
vape.
Yeah.
Or I smoke, I don't do anything else. So what is the difference between different ways that people consume it?
Well, with vaping, you're still heating up not just the THC itself, but all these other chemicals that are in the vaping fluids,
Right.
additives, flavorings, et cetera. So when those get heated up, you have these byproducts that are released, which can also be damaging to the lungs and the heart. In the case of edibles, you have THC. THC alone, whether you smoke it, you vape it, you eat it, THC alone also has effects on the cardiovascular system, which can lead to an increased risk of heart attack and stroke.
So people that use it for medicinal purposes, should they be worried?
Well, there's a
And
trade-off.
how much do you have to use before it's an issue?
And,
Right.
And people will
Yeah.
say it's all medicinal. But go on.
Well, it's a trade-off,
true,
right?
it's true.
Any medication,
Yeah.
there are risks and benefits, and it really depends on the setting. You know, if you're talking about somebody who has cancer, the risks and benefits you're going to weigh differently from somebody who's a young, healthy person who hasn't even turned 18 yet. So, you know, it really depends on the context.
So what about a recreational user who's 30 or 40? Are there benefits to smoking cannabis?
Well, I think it really depends on, what your experience of that has been. I think certainly some people do think there is.
Yeah.
Is there a safe level of smoking? We don't know. Again, this relates to it's very difficult to do this kind of research to give you an answer. Is there
Right.
such a
Yeah.
thing as a safe level?
So I'm trying to figure out the bottom line here, because you said we have this study, it could cause heart attack or stroke, but you have to weigh it to see whether it's worth it or not. Yeah.
Well, I think,
I'm trying to
one
figure out what
concern
to
is
do.
we've seen cigarette smoking really decline, and we've seen lung cancer rates really decline. What's concerning now is, will we see lung cancer rates and other issues like heart attack and stroke go up again as we see, use of cannabis go up? And,
Gotcha.
I think we have a map to show of use across the country. A lot of this tracks with politics, but I was sort of surprised. It wasn't just politics that predicts how much people are using cannabis. There's some states like Montana, Oklahoma, Missouri that are more red,
Yeah.
where you
Yep.
also see pretty high rates of cannabis.
Willie Nelson and Snoop Dogg, they have cannabis in common. I will say recreational is such a weird word when applied in this context. Ping pong is a recreation. I mean, cannabis is just a thing,
Yeah,
Not
yeah.
a recreational Coca-Cola drinker.
Yeah.
Doesn't make
Spot
sense
on,
to me.
Tony.
Doesn't make
Spot
sense
on.
to me.
Dr. Celine Gounder, thank you so much.